Hi everyone, Professor Grant Schofield here. Hey, a little bit of science. I was just preparing for a master's lecture tonight with my students, and also my son Sam is in his third year of his degree. He's been doing his little own N=1 experiment restricting his eating window. He went down to an 8-hour eating window. Frankly, I thought that was a bit lame. I was like, well, you can do much better than that. Why don't you go for a 4-hour or a 2-hour, or just go a full 24 hours without food for a few days in a row and then just eat that one meal? And he seemed to not be that into that. And then I just discovered this paper again. I already knew about it, but I hadn't seen this 2016 paper in Cell Metabolism. It's just a real little goodie. It tells you quite a few interesting things. It's a intervention study with some good baseline. So if you look down below, you'll see the link to this. You can follow through and read all about it and look at the more detailed stuff. But in a nutshell, they have, the cool thing with these papers, especially Cell Metabolism, is they have these little graphical abstracts, so you hardly even have to read anything to figure out what's going on, but it's worth reading it anyway. Baseline eating patterns, so they just ascertain what people were doing, how long their eating window was, what they were eating, that sort of thing. These were overweight but otherwise healthy individuals. They had a 16-week intervention. It was managed by a smartphone, but really they were just asked to pull their eating window down to 10 to 12 hours per day, and for the other 12 to 14 hours, I suppose, they were not eating. So it's not even a very hard intervention so far as I'm concerned, and what I recommend to people with time-restricted feeding, which we know has some benefits. Here's some baseline characteristics which I think are fascinating. This is the distribution of eating windows. So if you were in that 15-hour bin, it means that the amount of time in the 24-hour day you spent eating from when you started eating at the start of the day to when you last ate was 15 hours. That would be 15 hours. So you were not eating for 9 hours. It's fascinating how long people's eating windows are, at least in this study. So really there's no one under 11 hours. There's still a few people going at 16, 17-hour eating windows, which means they're not eating. If you're at a 17-hour eating window, you're not eating for 7 hours, which I guess is the time you're asleep in bed. Otherwise, you've started eating and only stopped eating when you've gone to bed. Interesting. So I guess there's room for improvement there. And what happens when you start to push people down to 10 to 12 hours? Well, everyone can make some improvements, at least according to this. Interesting results. Let's look at these build from left to right on your screen. So there's results at baseline, 16 weeks, which is immediately post-intervention, and then cool thing here, they followed them up for a year. So morning energy kept going up after the intervention period from baseline, and was even a little bit higher, I suppose, after a year, and there's a significant difference there. Overall energy kept going up. Bedtime hunger at least improved to start with, but then came back. Sleep satisfaction went up and kept going up. So those are all good parameters from just not changing what you eat, but changing when you eat. But the really interesting one is this figure on the right here, weight loss. There's the baseline weight, about 95 kilos per person, and it dropped down after that 16-week period to about, 92 and a half, I suppose, 92, and stayed down there after a year, which is unusual for weight loss studies. So there you go, some good little benefits from even that 10 to 12 hour eating window, which seems relatively straightforward to me. I suppose you have to, if you're having breakfast, then you'd have to have an earlyish dinner and stop eating when dinner finishes, unlike a weakness of mine, which is just to carry on eating after dinner. So I suppose I'll be concentrating that over the next few weeks, having seen this. So there you go, science in a minute. Take care out there.